Welcome to the spagirlspodcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
And I'm Wendy Bella, and welcome, Vendi Bella. I said then.
Did you? Vendi
Bella.
Bella.
It's getting better every time. Trudy's not with us today, so we're cutting loose. So we've got the wonderful Janet Margot.
Yay, Janet!
Hey, welcome, Janet.
So I'm going to read a little bit about her, and then we're going to dive straight into everything, and away we go. From the halls of Condé Nast to the guidebooks of Lonely Planet, Janet Margot has built a decades-long career in media publishing and book marketing. A veteran of Amazon, she helped build the advertising platform specialized for books and owned the advertiser experience, including international expansion. Since then, Janet found Book Geeks Media, very cool name, a consultancy helping independent authors and publishers to grow their business on and off Amazon. From time to time, she also serves as a fractional product manager in the tech world, where she gets to work on juicy things like using algorithms to solve book-related business and customer problems. When not consultant, she is busy writing about art, love, rock and roll, and tattooing. Welcome.
Thank you.
Very,
so
very
happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how you got into helping authors and, starting this wonderful consultants business.
Yeah. So the main thing is, I have that background in publishing. I got a job at Amazon when I wound up moving up to Seattle. As I was working to build out the initial ads platform, they didn't have it available in the books category and certainly hadn't even considered KDP authors. KDP was very, very new at the time. And then when they were talking about opening up for authors, they asked me if I would actually come build out the publisher space, because KDP authors got in before the big publishers did, because they're very scared of anything that could potentially damage their relationships with, especially the big five. So we actually had to do a lot of tests with mid-list publishers first and small guys before we were even allowed to make the phone call to the big five. So in my early days in the book ad space, I was actually working with the big five to onboard them and teach them how to do it and be rock stars in advertising. However, they weren't rock stars in advertising. It was really the KDP authors that were leading the way.
Yeah.
And then I expanded my role to work more directly with the authors and became a product manager of the entire book ads experience. So when I left book ads, I actually didn't completely leave Amazon yet. I actually went over to IMDb to run their video ads program for the studios. But Mark Dawson said, "Hey, why don't you come work with us?" Because I had, developed a relationship with him just through my work there. We did a lot of testing with him on his catalog. He said, "Why don't you come and meet the KDP author community for real and start teaching them?" And that's really how I got into it. So I'm really grateful for that introduction. And it kind of exploded from there.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as he mentioned my name, suddenly I was meeting everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been a trip because things have changed since I've been there, changed dramatically. And it's been cool because, I came out of Amazon thinking that ads were one way and that advertiser needs were one way. But then really when I started sitting in the hot seat of authors, I started to see, I just started to see things differently. So It's been super interesting.
I think we have to, I think for some people, it just seems such a big thing and it's almost scary. Where do I start? What do I do?
Yeah.
What if I get it wrong? People are talking about algorithms. People are talking about this. So if, where would your advice be to just start building ads and the best sort of, building a solid Amazon strategy?
So I would say for the actual beginners, if they haven't done it and if they have any kind of mental block with it, and because a lot of this is mindset,
Mm-hmm.
No matter if you're a beginner or you're advanced, a lot of it is mindset. And we can get into some of that later. But for the very beginners, in my book, I actually structured my book on Amazon ads for indie authors a little funky because I say, here's all the background about the ads, the ads platform, the Amazon business, how it integrates with retail. And then I say, just for now, like go start some auto ads. That's it. And then learn how things work. So I think if you just go to how things work and try to understand how things work, for most people, unless you're super data oriented or have some kind of tech experience, which a lot of authors aren't techies, I totally get that, then it's going to seem really abstract,
Yeah.
right? And so if you go in there and poke around and create some ads, whether they're a success or failure, whatever, then start to learn how it works and start to understand the why of things, and then start to build your strategy of the why you're advertising, which not everybody's advertising for the same reason, why you're advertising, why you're targeting a specific target, why you're doing everything. The why is the most important thing. That's the mindset part when you get into ads. But first, just go in there and mess around.
Wow.
You're not going to break it.
No.
No.
You're not
That's
going to
a bit of
break it, and
freedom.
everything's
Yeah.
reversible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't spend a lot of money. Just
Yeah.
don't do, a massive budget. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I started doing it all, and I think I did the wrong thing. I tried to, I think you've almost got to be relaxed, haven't you? Because you can learn too much, and then if you apply it and it doesn't work, you're like, well, that's a total failure. I mean, we've all done
Yeah,
that.
and people do that a lot, and they just like hit it and quit it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no.
That's me.
You got
That's me.
Yeah.
So it is,
Yeah.
that saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what is really important to get right? I mean, are we talking subtitles, metadata? How do we tighten everything up before we really
Mhm.
start getting into advertising?
So that's the most important thing. Wherever you are in your author journey, it's the most important thing. Now, most authors who have been around a while, they're going to be really dialed in with their covers. Maybe they've spent more on their covers. So if you're an author that's been around a while, maybe your covers aren't the most important thing to get right, but usually they have some improvements they can make on their metadata. So when you think of your packaging, everybody out there, when you think of your packaging, I want you to think of the inside and outside, right? Like, so the back end and the front end. The front end is what the customer sees. It is the cover, because that's your ad, right? Like, it's just this little book cover popping up throughout the throughout the customer experience. So you want to get your cover dialed in. When I say dialed in, have it at least look professional. It shouldn't be homemade. If you have I get this all the time with self-help books and memoirs. Oh, my daughter did a really beautiful painting and I just wanted it on the cover of my book. It's like, it is a beautiful painting, but it's a painting and it's not a book cover. Now,
Yeah.
for sometimes there's a way to make it into a book cover if you have a cover designer do it, or a real graphic designer. But it has to also align with genre expectations. You want to think of, how does your book look on the bookshelf, even if it's a virtual bookshelf? How does it look on the bookshelf with your peers? If you want to be next to, I'm going to use a really dumb example, but if you want to be next to Stephen King, or like I said, Mark Dawson, because he's an indie author, does your book look like it's in the same genre? For customers who aren't, looking at all the information, just what are the visual cues? So your title is also super important. And that's something for nonfiction authors that very often they don't get right, because they try to be too cute in their cover, right? You can do that with fiction a little bit more, but with nonfiction, you have to give the Amazon algorithm, not just the ads algorithm, but the organic, regular algorithm, you have to give it the cues about what your book is. Because the cover, not the cover, the title is basic search engine optimization, basic SEO. They're pulling keywords right out of that. If you have, and now this is for fiction authors too, if you have, a clever title, that's fine, but then you want to definitely use the subtitle to tell the algorithm more about your book. And remember, some people might say, I don't care about the algorithm, because I do get customers or clients that come to me that are like, I don't care about the algorithm. It's like, but the algorithm is the master decider of what the reader sees.
Yeah.
So use the subtitle to clarify the title whenever needed. And then there's the book description, right? You want to make sure that the book description is tight. And on Kindlepreneur, there's a really great little formula that Dave Chesson put together on how to write a good description. It starts with a hook, all that good stuff. And then you want to make sure that your look inside the book, which I think they're calling read sample now, where it's like the first X% of the book. You want to make sure that that's tight. It's devoid of typos. It makes sense. It's written well. It's delivering what they think they're going to get after clicking on the title, or excuse me, clicking on the book and reading the description. The first pages better match. So those are really the key front end facing. There's more things that you can think about, but on the back end, you should be investing a lot of time in getting the right categories and the right keywords. That's called your metadata. And that is the key thing that the Amazon algorithm, again, paid and organic, is going to be drawing from. So get the metadata right. Again, Kindlepreneur, great. I'm not a Kindlepreneur affiliate, by the way. I just really respect him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
good.
And I actually did a free ads course with Dave Chesson on there too. It's very basic, but he has great tools, and I helped him build out one of them that he part of the Publisher Rocket. I served as a product management consultant on adding the some of the new features that he launched last year on it. So I really respect what they're doing there. They have a lot of great data. You can also use AI tools to help you see what possible good categories and keywords are, but then go to PubRocket and validate that data and be a little bit more data driven about it. So those are the big things. It's your back end packaging, and then the front end, what's visible to the customers. If you don't invest in that, you will spend money on ads that will not drive sales. They will not meet your goals because you'll be hitting the wrong customers.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's sort of relatively new, they may wonder, well, why are mountain men romances all a shirtless guy or a guy in a flannel shirt, and often he has his head chopped off, and often the word mountain man is in the cover, in the title. This is why, and sometimes, often authors want to be unique, particularly when they're starting out. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to call it Whispering in the Trees. That's fine. But if you want to sell books, the mountain man needs to be the one that's whispering the trees. So it'll be whispered by the mountain man. Like, you want that trope often, or those keywords in that title, or at the very least a subtitle, right? Is that what you're saying, Janet?
Yes. And I also just want to add one more thing about the cover. So unless you're doing something like, and you just gave an example of super subgenre romance, which is those subgenres are extra picky about what they see.
Yeah.
There is a tool that I want to share with people. It's not a free tool, but it's really worth it. Let me just back up. So I just wrote a memoir. It's not for everyone, so I'm not going to give the name of it. And I did use a pen name because it's not for everyone. And so I had about 6 covers, and I went out with them periodically. And they were really bad. But I'm an industry expert, so I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. Okay. I didn't know what I was doing. And memoirs are really hard to sell, unless you're like a celebrity memoir or something. So I went out and I was like, I did a little bit of marketing, like a little bit of unpaid, like social media marketing, basically. And I saw which covers were getting more interest, but the one that got the most interest was, even though a lot of people clicked on it, I found out that a lot of people were clicking on it that were men. And I don't really think this is a book for most guys. I think this is definitely a female memoir of resilience. So men were going on that. women weren't clicking on it, and they're my target audience. But it initially it's like, oh my God, it's getting a lot of clicks. And it was just really misleading because it looked like a mid-70s album cover, which I loved because there's a lot of music in it, but it was still hitting wrong. So right before my release date, I got desperate and I remembered, which I should have known long ago, there's a tool called Pikfu, Pickfu. I don't know what the FU part stands for at the end, but it's Pikfu. And for like $50, you can load up multiple covers on there and you can survey 50 random readers. You can also add specific demographics that you want. So I loaded up 2 covers there. I gave a description of my book. And then I asked a bunch of questions. And they not only do you get demographic information within like 30 minutes, by the way, you get demographic information. Oh my God, it was amazing. Got demographic information, and then people just don't like pick which cover. They have to tell you the why. And these people are so engaged and so thoughtful, and they're strangers. Because remember, this is a key thing for everybody out there. When you're getting cover feedback and you're polling your friends and family are supporting you.
Yeah.
But what makes an author successful is the ability to sell to strangers. And that's the joy of Pikfu. Because they're not your followers.
No.
They're random readers.
Yeah. Were you surprised by the cover they chose?
Totally surprised.
Wow.
Totally surprised.
Yeah.
So
I thought I had it nailed. I thought I thought cover B was a shoo-in. Nope.
Wow. So it's effectively like back in the day when I was working in corporate marketing, that would have been like your focus group, right? So it's like
exactly.
Wow.
It's an online focus group.
That's awesome.
Is that
So you don't have to
just
go
the
out and
covers.
find these people. It's provided for you as part of it.
And I've even done for, like, I was redoing a website. I have a couple websites. I was redoing a website and I had them give information on it. I had people give, and this was like, 2 years ago, I was using Pikfu a lot. That's why I couldn't believe I forgot that I could use them for the book cover. When I did some consulting work for, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book subscription company. It's like the Netflix of books. It used to be called Scribd. Now it's Everand.
Oh, yes.
I know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for 2 years, I actually did, as a consultant, I consulted on their books algorithms, the recommendation algorithms. And we used to use Pikfu there all the time. I mean, really, really great feedback. So all kinds of feedback you can get for your author business using Pikfu. So I completely forgot about it. I was doing the website, got that information. Then when I told you I had like 6 book covers and I went to Pikfu with 2 book covers, neither one of them were good. Even though they picked one, not the one that I would have picked. The reasons why they picked it told me I still didn't have the book cover, the right cover. And then out of their feedback, I built the right cover that went to launch.
Wow, that is fantastic.
So check it out.
Yeah.
Can I just ask if that that $50, is that a one-off for that particular question or that particular marketing focus?
Yeah, it's
and then you
per
can go
survey.
It's
survey. Per survey. I don't know if it was just a Black Friday thing, but they did just have a big sale that I saw where you can, there's different levels of subscription to Pikfu, and I did the ad hoc, the one-off $50 for 50 people kind of thing, or something like that. And then like the cost goes up if you want to add different demographics to it. I forget what they all are, but I am going to actually become an affiliate of theirs because I love them so much. Super valuable.
Awesome. I'd never heard of them before.
No, it sounds really
most people haven't.
And how often do we go, oh, I just don't know about that cover?
Yes.
Yeah. It's something that we do.
But there are other ways though to test your cover out in the field. I mean, I do this with clients. Pikfu is a last resort because I just feel like they're spending money on me. They're spending money on all these other people. I'm very price sensitive when it comes to that, right? So there's other ways if your book is organically successful. So, if you're not completely relying on ads, There's other ways to test a cover. I mean, you can be looking at click-through rates and, compare for instance, I'm just working with an author who's a very successful author, but she has the series that's a little bit different than the others, and it's not taking off for whatever reason. She was putting all her money on book one, but then when we went through, when we started advertising all of her books in the series, which I think are only 4 in the series right now, she's getting massively high click-through on book 3, which is like, okay, what is it about the cover of book 3 that is so attractive to people?
Yeah.
And so she went and she made some changes to book 1 and 2 in order to level that out.
Wow.
So ads can give you ads. I think that's the other interesting thing about ads. And maybe this is why I called my company Book Geek, because I am a total geek about this stuff. Ads will sell books. It will also promote something that's not going to sell.
Yeah.
But ads are a really interesting feedback loop, right? It's telling you 2 things. 1, what Amazon thinks of your book, and 2, what customers think of your book.
Exactly.
And you need both those things.
Yeah, exactly. So when do we start Amazon ads? And I'm talking about someone who's written a book and put it up on Amazon, or, when do we start? Do we dive in straight away with a small budget and start learning the ropes, or do we wait, or what are you thinking?
If you're comfortable, jump in, run an ad. But I would seriously, I think a lot of people get really down on ads when they do that, when they haven't thought through their financial tolerance, right? So it's risk. You're spending money and you don't know if you're going to get the return on it. Everybody, even in every new book that you're advertising or new series that you're advertising, even when you're successful, there is an experimentation period. So you should expect for 2 to 3 months of spending more than you're going to get off of your ads. So you have to think through, do I have the money to do this for the next 2 to 3 months? Because if you don't think that through, what I see is people keep during that, I'm just throwing this out, that 90-day period, the 3-month period, people will be like, I have money this week and not next week. And then they're stopping. And you're kind of messing with the ads algorithm then. So you're not really going to get an effective test.
So, we all hear the story, you got to let them bed in, and so that's what you got to do with ads, right? You got to let them run for what would be your sort of take on how long to run an ad to see whether it's worth keeping running or not?
I don't think there's a hard time period on it. And this is one of the things, one of the mindset things, actually. I mean, I'll get to the algorithm thing in a minute, but I think mindset is so important. When you're going to that ads dashboard, people get pretty white knuckled about it, right? They're like all nervous about it, but you got to relax a bit and understand that I include myself in this, we all make mistakes with our ads. There's experimentation that's needed from us. If it's a new book, there's experimentation that's needed from Amazon, because they're going to try you in front of this customer and in front of that customer, in front of another customer. So that will take time. So ads in general, you got to give it 2 to 3 months. Now, on a campaign level, that's where we'll talk about the algorithm. On a campaign level, some people will run ads for a day or 2 and then stop. And I'm like, that's not enough time. You got to let that campaign go for at least a week or 2 and see what's happening. So if you're totally new to the ads dashboard, you start a new campaign. Let's just start with an auto campaign because it's the easiest. Amazon has 2 kinds of campaigns. There's automatic, which it's hands off for you. And then there's manual, where it's hands on. Just start with hands off and get that campaign running and just watch it and make sure that it's not overspending on things that aren't getting any return. Also watch that you are actually getting clicks, because if you're not getting impressions, then you have to go in and modify your bids. So watch during that 2-week period, but at least let it run for those 2 weeks before you're going to kill it.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why on every new book I advertise, and I don't care if a client comes to me and she's been advertising already for 6 months, my first time with her, I will run an auto ad because it's validation of how things are today, not how things were 6 months ago or a year ago. Because I do have people that come to me that have campaigns that have been running for years, and they usually kick butt. Like they're doing really well if the campaign's been on that long. But I want to see those two things. What does Amazon think of this book? And what do customers think of this book? Readers think of this book. So I do an auto ad for that point in time, and I start to see, okay, Amazon thinks your book is a memoir when it's really romantic suspense. Like, okay, we've got to fix the metadata, right? So remember I said like that dashboard is full of data that's a feedback loop that isn't stuff that's going to be spelled out in the dashboard, but you can infer from the data that you're seeing. So how I would see that Amazon thinks your book is a romantic or memoir when it's romantic suspense is I go into the customer search terms, which you can find that nested under the ad group. You can see right in the customer search terms what books you're being matched to, what customer searches you're being matched to. And that's literally customer typed celebrity memoir and your book came up. That's a mismatch. That's a really bad example, but you do see wacky stuff like that.
Yeah.
You see wacky stuff because the metadata is wrong. You see wacky stuff maybe because you've switched genres. So you need to go back and fix your back end metadata if that's happening. And then, like I said, you also have to look at bids. You better be bidding enough because all impressions are not created equal. Are you getting in front of the right customer or not? I could keep going off on a tangent, but I'm going to
No, that's fine. So
all gold.
It's all gold. So just moving on to someone who's been at it for a long time and they've been running ads and got a good budget. So how would you upscale if you had a significant amount of money to spend on Amazon ads? Would you sort of start that process, carry on with that process and then increase your bidding? Would you look at another sort of ads? I know you can do video ads now,
So yeah, there's a number of things. So everything is a lever, right? There's levers. Like I like to do music references a lot. Just think of everything as like an old school stereo with the dials up, you're dialing down. That's ads. That's the ads dashboard. Dialing up, dialing down, dialing up, dialing down, dialing down. And then sometimes you're hitting one of those things where it's just like you're going to press that lever. You're going to press something, maybe press something new, like on the advanced panel of the stereo, right? Stuff my parents would never let me touch. So the first thing you want to do is you have stuff running, you just want to dial up the volume. And if it's good, in other words, good is if you're getting a good return on your investment. So your ACOS is low. ACOS is advertising cost of sale. That's low. You want to dial up the budget, but I wouldn't go from, let's say, 100 to 1,000. Again, I'm giving very extreme examples, but I wouldn't make a huge jump right away because chances are somewhere in between that 100 to 1,000, Amazon's going to have a sweet spot, and then it's going to be the margin of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like one hamburger may taste good, 10 is going to get you sick.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the dashboard, right? And so scaling is a drag, especially for authors, especially in the book space, I should say, because the category is a little, the core ads algorithm is not really built for books, even though in sponsored products, a lot of it has been more fully baked for books. It's still, the signals it takes are still tough to get from books. So chances are you're going to kind of tap out whatever you can get out of that at maybe going from 100 to 150 or 100 to 200, but you can try. Just keep an eye on it. That's one of those things. Don't let it run for 2 weeks because you're going to spend too much.
Yeah.
But you're going to see some diminishing returns. But you might also see that it looks good and your ACOS gets a little bit worse, but it's still killing it and you're good with that. Let it go. But then you need to analyze everything in there and see what's working and then start creating new sort of micro-targeted campaigns where you're just getting really hyper-focused on a particular trope that's working or a comp author. And then you want to take that one element of what's doing good. Don't conflate them together. Just one element of what's doing. That's why I call it the micro-targeting. It's just tightly focused. And let's say you're doing a keyword campaign, then you're going to try, like with that comp author, the ASIN campaign, and then you're going to expand to that. Maybe you're going to start using them in a sponsored brands ad, where, like you mentioned, you can do video with that. Or maybe you're going to start, you have a category that's doing really well, and you're going to start to run a sponsored display ad, which everybody has now, I believe. A sponsored display ad will do retargeting. But those things of what you do depend on where you are in your author career, how many books you have, because remember, the more books you have, the more return you can get on your ads, because sometimes people see your visibility as an author increases for this one series, but they actually start seeing the return on another series that they may not even be advertising. So it's not totally linear.
Yeah.
But definitely, you're ready to scale, throw more money at what's working, but just know that, you might get better return off of a keyword ad for a particular comp than you will on an ASIN ad for a particular comp. All ads are not created equal. They hit customers in different parts of the customer experience. They're sourced under different conditions. So it's not totally apples to apples when you're doing the comparison.
That makes total sense.
I confess it's been a while since I've been in the Amazon ad dashboard, and it used to be custom text for ads versus just no text.
Standard,
Is there a preference that you have whether to do custom text or no?
I love you for asking this question.
Oh, good.
Because it's a huge one for people starting out. So I helped develop the custom ads feature, and I think it sucks. I mean, this is why, because theoretically it'd be great, right? Like as writers, you want to write more. You do the blurb or whatever it is, 50 or 80 characters. I forget what it is. Go for it. Oh my God, I'm going to write the greatest custom text, and it's going to appeal to everybody, and da 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 da. Well, it can help, right? It can help. But right before I left, we did a test, and now custom text had been running for like 4 or 5 years at that time. We had a boatload of data, and we did a test, a web lab A/B test, basically, to see if it had any meaningful impact on conversion. And it was a solid no.
Whoa.
Now, wait, I need to clarify, because like with everything in books, there's nuance.
Yeah.
It didn't detract. It didn't improve.
Right.
It did. It's just nothing. Now we're looking at massive data on it, right? So I think so when you look at massive data and it's flat, right? No improvement, no demerit, so to speak. It means that for some books it did better, and for other books it did worse. And for other ones it was flat. So I recommend, when you are a new author or a new advertiser, more correctly, and you're trying to learn the ads platform, don't do custom text, because it's just going to muddy your results. And custom text is considered technically a decoration. In other words, like we were talking before, how some of the other elements are like search engine optimization type of features, like the title, subtitle, cover. Custom text isn't taken into consideration. So it doesn't help you get sourced. Okay. It doesn't help you get surfaced for the right customer. Just when you are surfaced for the right customer, that will also appear. So I wouldn't risk including that in a new ad. But if you have an ad and you find out what works and what doesn't, and then you're like, God, I want to improve the click-through on this. And you feel like, especially with nonfiction, if you feel like you need to differentiate something about your books a little bit more, you want to press on that, then custom text is fantastic, because it's a differentiator from those other books in a way that the cover wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And that's really great for nonfiction books. Yeah. I don't waste my time though with it on my nonfiction, but
yeah. Wow. Okay. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I wanted to now touch on the dreaded word algorithm that we should not all be really scared of, and that we hear constantly, oh, Amazon's changed their algorithm again. What will we do? You know, go on. I know you want to unleash. I can see it in you.
Go with the flow, man.
Yeah.
Go with the flow. This is where I'm like, just relax, just relax, just relax. So Amazon did a major ads algorithm change this summer. I believe it happened. I don't have the actual inside information on that. Very often, the people that I'm talking to, when I talk to Amazon, people will talk about their reps and stuff, but they're really just salespeople. Let's be clear, they're salespeople on the ads side. They're not technical people. I was also known when I was at Amazon for being the deep dive person. I won some awards for like being customer obsessed and for doing technical deep dives, even though I wasn't in a technical role. So I discovered that there were buggy problems before an engineer would. I'm not trying to toot my horn. I'm just giving background on how I start to see and form a hypothesis about what's going on. But it's just a hypothesis because engineers internally are never going to share this stuff externally. I have a kindergarten version of how the ads algorithm works. My goal when I teach people the kindergarten slide of how it works, your ad, a source, this, that, and the other thing. And I talk to them about the different things, the elements that impact your ads. My goal is that when something changes in the algorithm, they have the baseline knowledge to run with it and to understand that there's a change and to be able to adapt to it. The problem with the way a lot of ads coaching content is out there is like, here's the way, you just do A, B, C, and boom, you're successful in ads. And that may be true today, but I know it won't be true tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Because these things change. So let me give the hard example of the solid example of what I think happened this year. And now I don't have all the Amazon data that I used to have, but I do have access to hundreds of accounts where I can see trends happen more than Tommy, who runs ads for his wife or something like that, right? So I started to see changes that made me think that the weighting of various elements was changing. So if you have your core metadata for books, Amazon used to heavily rely on that core metadata, your keywords and your categories. And how sponsored products worked, which is usually what we're talking about when we say there's been an algorithm change. How sponsored products works is that it gives a relevance score effectively. They don't call it that internally, but I'm using those words. All the words I use, most of them are not internal words. I'm trying to translate them so it's more accessible. They give a relevance score and they say, Janet's advertising this book and she has it in this category. Now, customers coming along and looking at this book, which is in this subcategory, how far away or how close are they on the browse tree? And it would classify the relevance score. That's one of the core things. It also took into consideration some of the actions that the customer was taking throughout their session. However, so that was the heavy thing, was that core metadata. As Amazon has increased AI or machine learning more and more into the algorithm, I think in the summer they started to more heavily weight on the customer profile. So the customer profile is not just what they're doing within that session. Now they have a whole forecasting capability for what's the propensity of, Kathy to buy Kelly's book based on her whole history, based on her click-through, based on her conversion, all of these kinds of things. So they're still looking at your book, but they're also really weighing in the likelihood of that customer. So the customer profile is very important. This is why you don't spend too much time throwing your books at your family and friends.
Yeah.
Right? You got to build the customer profile off of strangers. So when that happened this summer, everybody's ads went wonky. And one of the things that I think has happened is that if Amazon is relying less on the browse tree and more on the customer profile, you still need to know how the browse tree stuff works. That's still key. It's still fundamental and, necessary for everybody. But that also means that it gives them the ability, and this is the part of the change that I don't like. It gives the ability to say, if we're not looking at this so much, if we're not looking at the browse tree this much, we can throw a whole lot more books into the auction for this customer based on the profile we're looking for. And it can increase the cost per click. So I think it has a negative impact on the auction. And that's one of the reasons why cost per clicks right now were jacked up right about the same time.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now, what that means, how you can, and I know I'm kind of going off and going deep, so reel me in if you want to, but I just got to finish out this thing. What it means is that, as I've always said, Amazon ads never happen in a silo. So it better be part of an integrated marketing plan, not your only marketing plan. If your book is not as successful as you want it to be for whatever reason, you better be working on external third-party channels, driving traffic to Amazon to build your customer profile. So Amazon algorithm knows what to do with your book.
Yeah.
Right.
And I apologize for anybody who thinks that's all too technical.
No.
But it's our reality right now.
Yeah.
So you're throwing a party, but you have to go and put the invites out to that party to get them to go into where the party's happening.
So you're talking
basically.
about email newsletters, driving people.
That too, but also
Organically.
even like BookBub ads, Facebook ads,
Facebook
which
ads.
sucks because Facebook has also, introduced so much AI this past year, and those are a mess right now for people. Everyone's just working those out, but you have to find ways to get people onto Amazon to build that profile of that book.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a huge audience, it's going to be less important. Like, I have a client who has she has a crazy list. Let's just say she has 100,000 people on her list, but I think it's more than that. She used to send a lot more people to her website to direct sales, but she wants to send them now to Amazon more and more to make sure she has her customer profile dialed in.
Yeah.
Changes.
That's right.
Just
So
roll with
basically
it.
nothing happens by itself kind of thing, they're all
Exactly.
it's more to it. It's like a big web kind of thing, yeah.
It absolutely is. And it is both on Amazon and off Amazon, including Amazon. Like it is a giant web, and
And there's this mindset that we've had for so long about everything being organic, and you shouldn't have to do all these things, but actually organic isn't going to push you forward, not if you're expecting to make a living out of being an author.
Yeah,
Unless
but
you're a big name.
you do want to make sure that your organic stuff is dialed in for sure. Like you can't use the ads as a crush for stuff that organically isn't working. But another thing, I think this is one reason why we're seeing a comeback in Kindle Unlimited right now, is because think about the customer profile that a book can have if it's in Kindle Unlimited compared to not in KU.
Yeah.
It's unbeatable. It's absolutely unbeatable. So I'm still not a fan of exclusivity on Amazon.
No.
But with this algorithm change, it's like, I think KU for me, it feels like it's pretty necessary. However, I do think that we're still in the pain point process of the new algorithm and the introduction of AI in there, or the acceleration on AI or of AI. And I think, let's say I started to believe it rolled out in, let's say, July-ish. First they test it and then they say, okay, it's going to go into production permanently. I think by February, it should be forecasting pretty damn well about who's going to buy. So I'm hoping that we're going to start to see, even though I think we're paying more right now at auction, I'm hoping that we're going to start to see more and more efficient ads by the end of Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
So the Amazon ads are still vitally important,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I did, for a number of people who were struggling, In October, I was like, you just might want to pause or really dial down your ad spend for Q4, because Q4 is also, biggest shopping period worldwide. Often people do spend more and see lower return, like higher click through, but lower sell through. And it's just the nature of different shoppers on site browsing more. So I told them just like dial back then for Q4.
Yeah. And just something that occurred to me, so I can also hear in my head some people listening to this saying, well, I don't have the budget for this. I don't have the budget to run all these ads into Facebook. And I think personally a really good way of getting those people onto the platform is by doing these sort of shared collaborative newsletters with other authors, where everybody goes in and they maybe everybody has either a free book or a 99-cent book, and it's just those authors in particularly in your subgenre, and that way the people that are going to Amazon to get your book are already hopefully the profile of those sort of people. So that's free. Just needs time.
Yeah, collaborations with similar authors.
Yeah. That's how I personally see that going forward as even more important, not just for free promos, but also maybe like writing in shared worlds, that kind of thing. I think it's almost building your own sort of strengthening your side of the web, if you like. That's just my gut feel.
Can I just ask you about the exclusivity with Amazon? Do you, in your capacity working there, did you find that people putting a book in, say, even a new release going in for like 90 days and then taking it out is, to put it wide, do you think that is a good strategy, or do you think it's, it can work against you with Amazon?
I used to think that was a really good strategy with the new algorithm changes. I think you'll just see less return, but I'm not sure that that's the case. I don't really have anything to validate it again with these new algorithm changes, because there were also similar organic changes or discovery changes as well. Yes. I'm hearing a lot of people trying to test that out right now, like what's their balance of exclusive versus wide. I've always been a huge fan of wide, but I'm just not sure anymore.
Yeah. That's interesting.
We can always be wide with the print book.
Yes.
But I just don't know about the ebook.
Yeah.
Just not sure.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
Any other mindset tips or comments, Janet, that you wanted to kind of convey?
Yeah, so the big thing is be flexible. Relax.
Okay.
No, okay. I know relax. Okay, done. Check. I know relax. I can say that now that I moved to Mexico. I'm always like, relax.
It's so good.
It's such a joke. Because I'm not a super relaxed person. But when I say relax, part of it is really try not to get spun up in the stories that you hear. Not how things work, but the stories associated with them. I think as authors, we can get really hyper attached to the drama.
Yeah.
And that's not going to serve you once you're in the ads dashboard, because I work with authors who are really successful, who are so high strung when they go into the dashboard, because they're like, this is happening and that's happening. And what worked a year ago isn't happening now. And I have to say, I don't want to hear it anymore, because I heard it during the intake, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you have to accept that what was working a year or two ago probably won't work now. Times have changed. The rules of the game have changed. Period. End. You can go write an article how much you hate it and how much you hate Amazon and all that stuff. But when you're in the ads dashboard, it doesn't really help you move forward in there, right? It's just noise, clutter, really toxic clutter in your brain. So that's one thing. You have to let that go when you're in the dashboard, at least.
Yeah.
The other thing is you got to be patient, because there is the time you're going to have to look. Every single time I work with somebody in the first month, they're going to lose money.
Mm.
That's the way it is. They're going to lose money because they're going to be experimenting. We have to try things to know whether or not it's going to work, right? So that's a really important thing. But the biggest thing, I think, is to really invest time in thinking ahead why you're running ads, which for some people, they want the sales immediately, and for other people, they want the brand awareness. It depends where you are in your author journey, in the life cycle of a book, in the life cycle of a series. It depends on all those things. And then you have to ask yourself, when you're setting up a campaign and you're going to target a group of targets, understand why. I'm targeting this person because he's just like my book, or I'm targeting this person because they are a bestseller. They're a bestseller and I'll get a lot of traffic, but I may not get a lot of conversions. So if you define your why of what you're advertising and when, it will help you assess the performance of the ads. Because when you look at a dashboard, you should be looking at every campaign a little bit differently. For instance, if you're targeting your own brand defense terms, so your book, your author name, whatever, you're doing that just to make sure that people don't steal your customers, you're going to have a higher expectation for the return on your ad spend. But if you are an indie author and you are targeting a best-selling trad published author, you have to realize that it's good if you get a lot of traffic, but you're going to get lower return on your ad spend. You're going to get fewer conversions. That's the way it is. So just kind of like really do a check on your expectations and continually do it. Every time I'm in there, I'm reminding myself, this is why I'm advertising against this ASIN or this author. This is why I'm doing this. Okay, I can afford what appears to be an overspend on this target, but I'm not going to overspend on that target. It's flexibility is key.
Yeah.
But that's like everything in this game, isn't it?
I was going to say you could probably apply
You're right.
all of that to, right? Yeah.
You're right, but I think we get really conditioned because when I see some people out there talking about ads, it blows me away that they are going out there like there's only one way to do it. And there isn't one way to do it. I can sit there and teach you my principles for doing it, but you ultimately have to decide the way that's right for your book, for your goals, and for your financial risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes down to you.
Every time, I imagine too.
Yes, absolutely.
Whether it's a new release or a backlist or something like that. Can I just ask you a big question, because I know that we've been talking about this prior to having you on, was your take on how many keywords is a good amount?
I don't have a number. I just don't do over 20.
Okay.
In fact, I try to keep it down to 10
because
my data and my internal testing, and this is, I wrote a paper on this before I left the team, was that Amazon has a budget consumption issue. And they have that. So it's there's a very small percentage of campaigns that go out of budget. And this is directly tied to the fact that Amazon's algorithm only sources your book or your campaign for a small number of keywords. And so this is what you're going to see. If you have 10 keywords in there in your campaign, you're never going to get those 10 keywords, even if they're all popular keywords. You're never going to get the same performance across all keywords, even in impressions. You're never going to get it. And usually you're going to have, if you have a lot of targets, you're going to have a small percentage of those targets are going to get most of the impressions, and the other ones are just going to trickle in 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're not. And then you're going to have this huge campaign that's really unwieldy, really difficult to optimize because you don't have enough data to optimize those. So you don't know if it's really working or if it's just that algorithm sourcing hiccup. So I just say, keep it clean, keep them really tidy. You may mean you have a lot more campaigns, but it's like, this is my very crisp segment. This type of keywords, this genre, this trope, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice. And that also helps with the overwhelm too, right? Instead of having
totally,
yeah. Nice.
Oh my gosh, so much information.
I'm
And I
feeling
think
more relaxed now, though. I feel like,
I feel more relaxed.
I feel like I can do this.
I just was like, I was a little bit ostrich-like at the moment with my head in the sand. I just was like, I can't do it.
There's a lot, but there's a lot to learn, but really just like, it's cool. You'll learn it. Like if you just like keep going in and checking out more information and just, I mean, like my guiding principles are things like small campaigns, like, I mean, like with the volume of targets, like those kinds of things, like take it slow, just know that everything's not created equal.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be a lot easier, isn't it, if you've got less keywords because you've got less to check.
Right.
Going through
And you
scroll.
don't have to, because you don't have to keep double clicking on everything. You can just kind of see at a high, oh my God, this is my one against, I don't know, multiracial Regency romance, like boom, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you know what's working and not working much faster when you pop into the dashboard.
I like it.
Nice.
So Janet, I've got your first book, but you've got a new edition out now with your
my second edition. I felt the second edition, it wasn't unfortunately I put it out right before all the algorithm changes, and that was kind of a drag. But the second edition added something that I think was really wrong or missing from all of my teachings from the beginning, and that was the why. I pretty much stole from like Simon Sinek's famous Start with the Why book, because we use that concept a lot in Amazon, and I applied it like at a micro level within everything you're doing in the ads dashboard. And just keep asking yourself that, because if you know the why going in, then you know how to assess going out when the data comes out. And so it's a lot more about strategy.
Yeah. And in terms of if people want to contact you personally for coaching, or do you run ads as well for authors yourselves, or do you?
I don't like running ads for people who I don't already know. So basically people will come to me for some kind of coaching, and then if they have, depending upon what their situation is, we figure out if I will wind up running their ads for them. I don't like to take on a lot of ads clients, because I really do think like I need to teach you how to fish. Right? You need to figure out how to feed yourselves and your family. So I do coaching, but in late January or mid-January, I'm going to have a lot more self-service content available, that's going to be priced very well, because not everybody needs the same thing. So I don't want you paying $1,000 for one massive course, because not everybody's going to need that. But there's going to be prerequisites, and then I'll have coaching coming out of that too. I think in January it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
because of that self-service stuff.
And of course I've got your Book Geek Media company. So
Book
how do we
Geeks, plural, bookgeeksmedia.com. And if people have questions, I give a free 20-minute discovery call to everybody. Brilliant. I'm happy to answer questions on those calls, even if you feel like you can't afford to hire me. I just it helps me learn too, as I have those free calls with everybody. So
that's very generous.
Don't be shy.
So much wonderful information today. I mean, we could talk for hours, but I think we're going to have you back on and have a chat to us when you have these new things coming out.
I was just going to say that maybe we could have a catch up in 2026 sometime. Would be really awesome.
Sounds good.
If we can't get to Mexico, we have to do it on Zoom, unfortunately.
Zoom works.
So where can we be found, Shah?
We can be found at spagirlspodcast.com, or we are on the interwebs. I'm delighted to say that we are so close to our 4,000 people on YouTube. So if you haven't already subscribed to us, that would be really awesome. It's a complete vanity number. It will not change our lives significantly, except that it will stop me asking about it all the time. So that would be great. And we can be... If you wanted to drop us a review for a New Year present, we would appreciate that too on your podcast apps.
Right. So we've sold that to you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janet. We've loved having
you.
And
that's awesome, Janet.
That's us over and out for now for another week. Bye.
Keep well.
Bye.
Bye.